Okay, greetings everyone. So today we're going to talk about the book by Living with the Himalayan Masters by Swami Rama. This is the book. It's a wonderful book. It's quite thick also, quite interesting read. A little bit about Swami Rama, which I didn't cover last week. Yeah, Swami Rama is known as one of the greatest adept, teacher and writer and humanitarian in the 20th century. It seems that is he was from the time he was born in 1925 and expired in 1996. And he's the founder of the Himalayan Institute. So born in northern India, he was raised from early childhood by the Himalayan sage Bengali Baba. I think he's the guru. Under the guidance of his master is travel from monastery to monastery. So that is where we get all the stories from. And he has studied with a variety of Himalayan saints and sages, including his grandmaster, who was living in a remote region of Tibet. In addition to this intense spiritual training, Swami Rama received higher education in both India and Europe. From 1949 to 1952, he held the prestigious position of Sankaracharya of Karvipittam in South India. Thereafter, he returned to his master to receive further training at his cave monastery, and finally in 1969 came to the United States, where he founded the Himalayan Institute. His best known work, Living with the Himalayan Masters, reveals the many facets of the singular adept and demonstrate his embodiment of the living tradition of the East. So what they are telling is his whole life encompassed in that book. And as we all know, it is a very, very interesting read. Please take the time to read. So today we have three masters covering the chapters. We have Master Rajesh, and we have Master Krishnaveni and Master Pathma. Over to you, Master Rajesh.
Thank you, Master Thila. My humble pronounce to Pitamaha Patriji and Swarnamala Patriji and all masters here, and also to all the humble astral masters. So today, we had some chapters last week. So today I'll continue with the chapter that you teach others but deprive me. So Swami Rama's experience, so he, when he was very young, so he's telling about all his experience, how he was like, probably more immature in his younger days. So he went to see his master and he told his master that you have been cheating me. And then when you've been telling others, but you think that I'm still a child, but you're not disclosing this from me, you're withholding this information. So then the master asked him, okay, slowly, okay, what do you mean by this? What do you think that that you want to know? So he said, I want to know, can you tell me, can you show me who is God? So, and then he said, okay, he said, you think that I'm not teaching you about God, so maybe I will show you tomorrow morning. So that night, when normally typically Swami Rama, he meditates before sleeping, he was thinking, okay, why do I need to meditate? Because I'm going to see God tomorrow, so I don't have to meditate. So he but he couldn't sleep. He was so restless. He was so excited that he was going to see God the next day. So the next morning he woke up. Normally, typically he will follow his master. He will take his bath and all that. But that morning he said he didn't want to take his bath. He was excited. He said, okay, he will pat his hair, comb his with his hand. And then he eagerly went to see his master. And then he bowed in front of his master like many times, showing that he's like very humble because he's like keen to know who is God. So then the master asked him this question. So the master asked him, so what is your concept and definition of God? So I'll show you God according to your own concept and definition. So when the master asked him that, and then he started thinking about, okay, who is God? He's like trying to visualize whether God is like a human being, a strong man, or he was like visualizing whether it's like plant, or whether, he started visualizing a lot of things, but he could not come out with a picture. So then the master told him, if I tell you that God is such, you may not be satisfied. And if I tell you God is within you, you will still be not satisfied. So why don't you go back and meditate, and then you come back again when you're ready? So he went back, he meditated again. He said every day he meditated, he was starting to think of who's God, whether is it a plant. He like couldn't really put a figure to God. So finally, he went to the master and he said, okay, master, now show me who can free me of all the miseries and who can give us happiness. So then the master said, so there is a state of equilibrium and tranquility which you must cultivate for your own self. So then the master said, how you found, because he said the human mind, you have boundaries. But then if you go within yourself, like, that's where the God is the truth, how you want to realize the word that he said. Let me pull that word. He said, God can only be realized by realizing the real self and then the self of all. So through that, then only you can realize God. So then only Swami Rama realized that it's actually very demanding if they go to a guru and ask to show me God. So God is not a physical thing that you perceive. It's all in your mental. So finally he realized that God is actually the truth. How you go deep within yourself, realize yourself, and you realize yourself in everybody else. So that is God. So that was an aha moment when I saw this statement, God can only be realized by realizing the real self and then the self of all. So that is God. So that is the chapter, what is trying to see what is God. God is truth, and the practices of our action and speech. And then how that self-realization draws when you think of God. So that's on that particular chapter. So now the second chapter is discipline is a must. So when he was young, he will often go to the forest where his friend Natin Baba lived. I mean, when they were a child. So they were practicing a lot of spiritual disciplines together since they were 6. But sometimes they're very mischievous. What they will go and do is, when they go into the village, they will go and sneak to the kitchens of some of the villages, and they go and steal food. And then they'll come back. So some of the villagers thought that they were divine incarnations, but some of them thought they were devils because they were mischievous. They will go and steal food and all that. So, and sometimes in the villages, because they lived in the forest and all that, sometimes in the villages there are like many apple orchards and fruit farms. So some people owned a lot of orchards. So one time they left their place where they were like staying, and then they went to a orchard, and they were living there, and they started collecting wood and all that. They were living there. They wanted to pick actually the apples and eat, but then the owner of the orchard, he's a very stingy man. So he was very disappointed. Even if the apples were on the ground, he didn't want people to take the apples. So what he did, he sent 2 guards to actually beat the boys up. And then when these apparently 5 men came towards the men, then only they realized that these 2 young boys were actually young yogis. So they didn't do anything. So they lived in the forest for 3 months. And then when he returned back to the master, so the master was quite like, the master told him, you create really problems for me by doing silly things. So then he was telling the master, but I haven't done anything. Then he told Swami Rama, the master told him that I'm trying to protect you since you have been an infant. And then when you grow up, why did you trespass on other people's property? So that's what the master was saying. So the master was saying, then he was saying to Swami Rama, replied to the master, but I thought everything belongs to God. He was replying to the master, I thought that everything belongs to God. So he was thinking it's not wrong for him to go to another property and take things or eat and all that. So then God said, then he corrected him. He said, you see ultimate reality in all pervasive throughout the universe. But he said, do not be attached to the pleasures received from the objects of the world. Treat them as a means of spiritual progress. And he said, do not covet anyone's property, woman, or wealth. So that's what he's teaching. That means you are not supposed to go for, for anyone's property, woman, or wealth. So he said, remember this, in future, if you commit any social crime or disturb any householders, I will not talk to you. So sometimes the master will remain silent, and this is a means of like punishing Master Rama. So sometimes the disturbance will be a positive silence then he know probably the master is in a good mood. But sometimes it's like a rebooking silence. The master doesn't want to like talk to him. So he will realize that, and the master will tell him, probably he will, when he apologizes to the master will tell him, probably this is my karma. I have to go through this karma. So this is what, when he comes to say the real philosophy of life, how the master taught him, because he thought that everything belongs to everybody. So he will just, they were mischievous, go and take things. So this is what the master taught him in this particular chapter. So this actually teach you why discipline is a must. You can go there, do something and all that, but you must have discipline. You cannot go and take people's thing or wealth if they don't like it. So you must be disciplined. So this is the chapter that talks about discipline. And then he said also, like, when you become like, when you start knowing the real philosophy of life, like spiritual practice, needs constant vigilance. That means you have to keep observing yourself, how you're actually being disciplined when you're doing the spiritual practice. So this is on that particular chapter. And then the third chapter is blessings in a curse. So whenever he realized, Swami Rama, he realized that whenever he became egotistical, he fell down. So that was his experience. So the master told him, try your best, but whenever you feed your ego, whenever you try to do something selfish, you will not succeed. That is my curse to you. So he said, then he looked at him at surprise. Why was he saying that? He said, this is my blessing to you. Whenever you want to become selfless, loving, and without ego, you will find a great force behind you, and you will never fail to achieve good. So what is this trying to tell us is, a selfish man always thinks and talks about himself. Sometimes his selfishness is like self-centered, and ultimately it will lead to misery. They may not reach enlightenment, but if you're not selfish, you're doing something, like what he said, he will get the blessing whenever he want to become selfless, loving, and without ego. That means there'll be great forces supporting us, and we'll never fail to achieve good things. So that is this thing on blessings in a curse. So that's what the master cursed him. So if you're doing anything that is more selfish, it will be a curse. He would not succeed. So and then that's where his progress will be limited. So he said, to be pure, we just have not to actually feed our ego. We need to be selfless. So that is the topic about selfless. And he said selfless, humble, and loving. So that's what is on blessings in a curse. So the other chapter, now going through the section B, the path of direct experience. So he said, any experience we have, the direct experience is the highest form of all ways of gaining knowledge. So all other knowledge, the way we gain knowledge, are only fragments. So this path of self-realization, purity, and all that actually only comes if you have direct experience. That means you can gather a lot of knowledge. Unless you have the direct experience, it becomes meaningless. So here there's a story he shared. So the master told him to sit down. The master asked him, are you a learned boy? So he was thinking, oh, okay, I am definitely a learned boy, because he was saying that the master loves him so much. Whatever he tell, the master would, always forgive him. So he said, of course, I'm learned. So then the master asked him, so what have you learned, and who have taught you? Explain it to me. Then he said, oh, our mother is our first teacher. My father is the second teacher. I learned through our brothers and sisters. We learn when we play. So I've learned a lot. So he said, I've learned from others and all that. Then the master told him, actually, I pity you, because you have not learned anything independently. Because all this knowledge you are gathered is actually you're depending on others, the knowledge gathered from other people. So you have not really gained anything independently. Then he said, okay, wait a minute, let me think. So it was really shocking. And he realized, it was really shocking to him that whatever he was saying, that he actually gained from others. Even if you read a book, it's from the others, it's not from your own self. Then he realized that the knowledge he had really dependent on the others. So it is not actually, then the master said, this is not satisfying. Of course, you have to get the knowledge, but you have to get this all knowledge also to experience this by your own self. So that is the highest level of direct experience that will give you the knowledge. He said this word, he said, by experimenting with this knowledge that you have acquired from outside, find out for yourself with the help of your direct experience. So although you get all the knowledge, we read a lot of books, we do everything, but it doesn't help if we do not sit on ourselves, like for example, and meditate, right? Because this from here we will get direct experience because we're doing it on our own self. Okay, so finally he said, you will come to a conclusion and a fruitful stage of knowledge when you experience it directly by your own self. So since then, Swami Rama started following his advice. He found that anything that had direct experience and the final test was the validity of his knowledge. Sometimes, he said, many people tell you something until you experience yourself. Nobody can actually, you don't have to seek other people's opinion when you experience the particular truth. You don't have to ask your neighbors, you don't have to ask someone else when you have experienced certain thing by yourself. That alone gives you the confirmation. So this chapter actually highlights that direct experience alone has the access to the source of real knowledge. So this is what is considered the real knowledge. So this is the chapter on real knowledge. So then this subsequently leads to the other chapter that is called Real Knowledge Removes Suffering. So what he was trying to say in this chapter is self-reliance is very important. So it comes when we start receiving many experiences directly from within. So no doubt sometimes we need a teacher, we need a guide, we need, definitely we need a lot of learning from other people, we need to study books, we need to meet people and all that, but we also have to rely on ourselves. So sometimes when he was teaching a Brahma Sutra, it was the most difficult book. Sometimes he himself, he didn't really understand that, but then when he managed to explain to the students seemed satisfied. But then often he would go to a Swami, and it's surprising, this Swami who can't even write, who can't even sign anything, but this Swami was able to explain to him all these things in the books. So it's sometimes it's, because you have to realize by themselves and they get the knowledge. This Swami was illiterate, he couldn't read, he couldn't write, but Swami Ramya can go to him and consult him, and the Swami can actually explain to him on some of the doubts that he had. So this is the story that the Swami narrated to him. So this is an interesting story. So the Swami told him that so a master had a student who had not seen a cow at all. So the student went to the master or tasted the cow's milk. So the student went to the master and asked, Master, how does a cow look like? And I heard the milk is really very nutritious. So how does the milk, how does like a cow's milk look like? So the master told him, okay, you don't know anything about cows. Okay, let me explain. So he said, please, he asked the master to describe to him about a cow. So the master described to him. So he said, a cow has 4 legs. It is a tame, docile animal. It is not found in the forest, but in the village. Its milk is white and very nutritious for your health. So this is what the master described to the student. And this is not Swami Rama, by the way. It's just another student, and this man was narrating to him. So the student heard about this, and then the student then went to the village in search of a cow. But when he went to a village, he saw a statue of a cow. So when he saw a statue of a cow, he said, okay, this is how it looks like. Okay, so this must be the cow. And then Coincidentally, beside the cow, the villagers were actually cleaning the village, and they left a pail of whitewash. You know, sometimes you use when you clean in India, probably there's a whitewash which looks like milk. So what he did, he drank that. He thought that's good, that's milk. He drank that, and he was really sick. He was taken to the hospital. He came back and he was so upset. He told the master. So he said, Master, you are no teacher. And then the master said, what's the matter? He said, your description of cow was not accurate. You know, I was sick after drinking the milk. So this is what the master explained. The master asked him, what happened? Did you milk the cow yourself? He said, no, I didn't milk the cow myself. He said, that's where you suffered. So actually, it's just like that, you know, the cause of suffering among all the intellectuals today is because we really don't know the whole thing. We only have partial knowledge. We don't have deep knowledge in everything. So when we have partial knowledge or bits of knowledge here and there, it's dangerous. So this is what happens. He knows that it's like a white color, it's nutritious, but he hasn't milked a cow, and he saw the statue, he thought that's the cow, and he drank. So the sage said, even if we don't know any alphabet or any language, you know, any systematic study under a self-realized and competent teacher, it will help purifying our ego, but then we should really experience it ourselves, you know, go and do that ourselves. Then we will gain the knowledge, then we'll gain the real knowledge to do something, rather than getting all the partial knowledge, which sometimes could be dangerous. So that is the lesson in this particular chapter. And then the last chapter I'm covering today is a mantra for happiness. So again, you know, we know that mantra is a syllable, a sound, a word, or set of words found in deep state of meditation by great sages. So it's not a language, you know, in human being that it's not a language that human beings speak, but it's a sound received by sages through some super conscious state, and then they share it. So, and sometimes the more awareness in increase, the mantra has got real meanings, and actually it can be done to actually do many things. So sometimes like mantra is like a human being having many sheets, you know, it can be gross, subtle, and more subtle. So for example, the Om mantra. So these three letters actually represent the three states: waking, dreaming, and sleeping. So the Om represents the three states, or the three bodies: the gross body, the subtle body, and the more subtle body. But the fourth state of the finest body of the mantra is formless, soundless, and cannot be defined. So as a student, he realized about the mantra, and he thought, okay, mantra is powerful and essential, and it's definitely a complex form of prayer. So it becomes a guide. So what he did was he started collecting a lot of mantra. You know, like people collect material objects. Swami Rama started collecting a lot of mantra, and he said, and sometimes he would be thinking that, okay, I want to compare with other students and think that, oh, my mantra is better than his mantra. You know, he was a bit immature at that time. He's like calling crazy, like he's trying to like rigorously collect all the mantras, and then comparing whether he has a better mantra than his you know, his other students as well. So then one day he told the Swami, you know, he said he went to see a Swami in Himalayas, in between Uttakashi and Harsil. He went to see him, and when he arrived, the Swami asked him what is the purpose of coming, because previously seems the Western world, sometimes when they go and see a Swami, if they pay money, they can get these mantras. So that he thought he can go inside and see the Swami and don't have to wait, can get the mantras easily. So he said, okay, when Westerners come, they pay a lot of money and can get the mantra. So he thought he doesn't have to wait. So he tried to do the same. He said, Swamiji, I'm in a hurry. So he said, how many days you can wait? He said, I can only wait for a few days. He said he wanted a mantra for happiness. He wanted one mantra. So he said, I'm in a hurry and I want to receive a mantra. So then the Swamiji said, come next year. He said, no, I can't come next year. If I stay now, how many days will I have to wait for you to give me the mantra? So the Swami just told him, you will have to wait as long as I want you to wait. So he was like, okay, he said, okay, he got no choice. He said, so he waited patiently. So one day passed, 2 days passed, 3 days passed, and still the Swami wouldn't give him the mantra. So on the fourth day, he said, the Swami told him, I want to give you a mantra, but promise me that you remember it all the time. So he immediately, he said, I promise you, I will remember it all the time. So then the Swami told him, let us go to the Ganges. So they, most of the souls go, no, most of the sages and the Swamis go to the Ganges and they do the spiritual practices and take their bath. So he was standing beside the river and he told the Swami, I promise I'll never forget this mantra. And he repeated the promise many times, but the Swami still didn't give him the mantra. Then finally at last the Swami said, no matter where you live cheerfully. So he said, this is the mantra. Be cheerful at all times, even if you are behind bars. He said, anywhere you live, even if you have to go to a hellish place, create heaven there. Remember, by my boy, cheerfulness is your own making. It only requires human effort. You have to create cheerfulness for yourself. So remember this mantra of mine. So then he was okay, both happy and a bit sad because he was expecting him to give him like one word, one sound. And then the Swami just gave him, okay, you have to create happiness wherever you go. But then he realized the Swami was practical. So what he did, he started applying this mantra in his life and he found it was successful everywhere. So, you can be anywhere. It's just our effort to create cheerfulness wherever we go. So that's the mantra for happiness. So with that, I hope I've shared what I've read. Thank you so much for listening, and my humble apologies if I've missed anything. Over
No,
to
you didn't
you,
miss
Master.
anything, Rajesh. Beautifully covered. Beautifully covered. I think everybody understood what you're saying. And I love the last part, be cheerful wherever you are.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a
Yeah, that's
wonderful mantra.
true.
So with this over to you, Venima.
I humble pronounce to Pidamaga Patriji, Swadramala Patrijama, the universal and everyone in this platform this wonderful evening. Okay, I'm going to cover on the mantra for bees. Okay, this it seems that there's 3 mantra which called Apta mantra, and Swami Rama was so eager to get all the mantras like what Rajesh has shared earlier. Okay, this chapter also talking about the same thing. He was so eager to get this the mantra, and he went to another. The master asked him to go to another master to gain some knowledge from there. So when he go there, he's like he have to go to the swing bridge, the hanging bridge, no. So he have to cross the Ganges river to go over to this Swamiji's place. So when he reached there, he stayed there. Then every morning he realized that this Swamiji will go for his dipping in the Ganges, and then he will get the what we call the what it was says that the weapon kuchi, no, for brushing the teeth.
His teeth, yeah.
Okay.
Neem branch.
And he'll get the branches. You are saying
Okay,
that
I
he'll
won't say
get the
branch.
branches, twigs of a tree,
Twigs
Yes.
of
of a
the
tree, and then
yeah. So he will go there, and then any of the disciple will go and get the twigs of the tree for the Swamiji. But on that particular day, the Swamiji went up the tree, and then that tree having the what we call the
beehive.
beehive. Yes.
Yeah.
The tree was having the beehive, and at the age of 70, the Swamiji was age 70, and at the age of 70, this Swamiji is like very strong and very energetic. No, he can go climb up the tree, and then he go and take the string, and then without bothering much on the bee's hive there. No, he just he can just go and take it. And this Swami Rama was very afraid of how he's looking at the Swamiji going up the tree and then taking so briefly without any what we call any fear that the bee's hive is there. So when he go there, he go and the Swamiji went and then he already take and he come down. The next, he asked Swami Rama to climb up the tree and get his own hive there. But when he went up, he dare not to go up. He said that he dare not to go up because of the bee's hive is there, and the bee is very dangerous kind of bee. A bee is very big and very look very dangerous. So he dare not to go up. And Swamiji said that you go up, I will. He says that Swami Rama want a mantra. How he go there without getting any sting from this from the bee, and he can come down. He wants the mantra. Then the Swamiji said that you go up first, I'll give you the mantra. Then when he go up there, he went up there and he asked for the mantra. The Swamiji said, you go near to the bee's hive, and then face to face, you talk to the bee saying that I don't come here to harm you. So you don't harm me, I don't harm you. You just say like that. So when he went up, he was so afraid, but he just followed the Swamiji's instruction. He go up and he says that to the bee. And then he was eager to know whether the bee can understand the language that he's talking, because he's talking in Hindi. Okay, then Swamiji said that it doesn't matter. The bee will understand your heart language. That's what the Swamiji told him. And when I read this, I was connected to my own experience. When I went for the hiking, and I think I have shared this, I went with the barefoot, and in my heart, I was telling to the rock, normally I will sit and meditate. I was telling in my heart, I said, yeah, today I cannot come and sit on the rock to meditate. That is the time where I found the trees was shaking by the wind, and then the grass was opening and showing me the way to reach the rock that I used to sit now. So it really connected me when I read this chapter, because it really, yes, I was talking in my heart, and it shows me the way to the rock so that I can go to there and I meditate there. No? Yes, the nature understand our heart. Not only nature, I think everything they understand what our heart actually meant for. So I was so connected to this chapter. And then with this mantra, he went up and then he take the what we call?
The twig.
The twig, and then he come down already. So he feel like he already get another mantra, so he can show off to other religious people that he has this mantra. So when he went to other villages, he also will show off. He's very young boy, he's 17, 18 years old boy. So he was very eager to show off everything he learned. So at one time, there was one village, there was a goldsmith who he really know. Swami Rama knows him very well. So he also invited him to go up the tree to get the twig by himself. So he also afraid of the bee's hive. And he says that you go up, you go and say this mantra, the same thing. The same thing. You go up there and then you say that I don't harm you, you don't harm me. And then that is the mantra. Then you go and tell he will be. Then this fella, the goldsmith fella, he went up and then he said that to the bee. But the bee, it doesn't work for him. The bees sting him everywhere. So he fell off and he was on coma for 3 days. And within these 3 days, the Swamiji came over to Swami Rama and he said, what you have done to the village people. Then he realized that he had made the mistake. Then Swamiji said, I will pull back this mantra from you. This mantra no more working for you. So he learned a lesson from there. And then from there, Swamiji said that the next morning the goldsmith will be okay and he will be back to normal from this coma. So that chapter end there. It's like the mantra that given by anyone to any person is specifically to them. It's not to be shared with anyone else. So he learned a lesson from there. So the next chapter is talking about the misuse of the mantra. So there is some manuscript that normally it will be used only by the Swamijis. So he will be very eager to know what is written in the manuscript there. But normally Swamiji don't allow him to refer to any of the manuscript because for him is highly confidential, is highly sacred, and it is not to be shared among everyone. So they call it is Prayoga Sastras, okay, for these mantras. And then he feel like if it is not to be used, then what is the usage of the mantra, right? It need to be used. So one day Swamiji give him one script and then ask him to hold. So when that mantra, he was eager what is written in there. So when Swamiji was not around, he locked his room from outside. And then he go in and flip all through the mantras. And then the mantras say that he need to read the mantra for 1,001. So he wanted to try it. And he read the mantra for 900 times and he sees nothing. So he got a doubt. How come say 1,001 times you will see something, but he already read for 900 times, there's nothing come out. So he keep on reading for 940 and so on until 940. He saw a woman, a huge body woman was picking some branches and then want to make a fire and put a big vessel of water, boiling the water inside. Okay, then he was thinking it could be what the result of the mantra. He thought that. And then after that, he keep on reading. When he reached at 967 times of mantra, he noticed another huge man coming from the same direction, and he want to know what actually this guy want to do. So when he continued to read, he came near to him, to Swami Rama. That huge man came near. Then this woman was the huge woman was asking the huge man what is there for them for that day food. Then he say he got nothing. So he say, why not catch that boy and then chop him and put inside the water, boil and eat him. So he was afraid and he dropped the what we call the mala, he dropped. So he lost touch of how many times he had said the japa. So when and then subsequently he fainted. And but actually before he could he start reading this japa also, he already have in his mind, he already say anything, if anything goes wrong, he's not afraid because he know that the master will come and rescue him. He already have that kind of confidence on him. So when he fainted, it happened already, Swamiji came and rescued him. And then he learned a lesson that if any scripture says that don't touch and don't read, there is a reason for that. So from there, he learned that he's not going to be like what he have done. He's very mischievous boy, you know. He wants to know everything because his age is like the 18 years old. Okay, with that, that chapter's end. And the last chapter is, for me, is receiving a beating. Okay, and in this chapter, Swami Rama goes on silent. He went on silent and he, but even in the silent, he still will go roaming around the village. He don't sit in one place and just be in silent. So it's a summertime. So the day was very cold and it started to rain heavily. So he only had one blanket and he don't have any shelter on that point of time. So he only had one blanket. So he covered his head, the whole body with the blanket, and then he go and find a shelter at the temple nearby. So when he entered the temple, he covered the whole head of him, right? So he entered the temple and there was three guards from the temple came over to him and asked him who is he, why he's there. And Swami Rama was, because he was on silence, right? So silent, so he didn't say anything, a word. He just sit there quietly. And these three guards thought that he's actually a thief. He came and want to find something there. So he really get beaten from the three guards. And then with the whole body was bleeding. And then the priest from that temple came over with the lantern light and then come and see nearby. And they found out is Swami Rama is the one got beaten by the three guards. And then by the time they rescue him, and then they say that he says that he didn't say anything because he's in Mauna, right? He's in silent. So, and they rescue him, and then from that day onwards, whenever he goes on silence, he never go roaming around. He will be silently sit inside one place and then do his he continue with his silence. And then this silence, actually, you want the real reason why we need to go on silent is we want to learn what is our conscious mind is about. Okay, and at the same time, when we go on silent, this conscious mind can go silent, but our unconscious mind will come out with some thoughts. So we always think that these are the thoughts that we experiencing during our mauna. We thought that is what we call is like we take it as a fantasy, you know. And then most of the modern students, they expect immediate result. So most of the time they expect to get some experience. Like, so when I read this, I was connected to whether we always share about the third eye vision, all that, right? So it's actually my understanding. It could be came from our unconscious mind. So like when says that there's a third eye vision, is it really a vision or it actually come out from our unconscious mind? I'm not sure, because I feel like when after reading this I feel like anything that we see in the third eye actually came out from our unconscious mind. When our conscious mind goes in silent, the unconscious mind start to triggering in us. And that is what is come as a third eye vision. My understanding is this, but I don't know actually. Maybe if you all read this chapter, maybe you can understand better. So I hope that all of us will go and read this again. In fact, I also feel like I need to read this chapter again and again to understand actually what they are talking about in this portion of it. So it's like, so in this chapter, I feel like what we feel like today, most of the time we feel like we don't have any vision. For my case, in the initial stage, I have so much of vision, all that. But now I can see I'm totally blank. It's just the emptiness that I'm experiencing now in all my meditation. So I feel like that more related to this. Yes. So that means my conscious mind and unconscious mind is settled down. So that is the reason that why I'm feeling the emptiness. So this is what my understanding about this chapter. So I hope that every one of you will go and read this chapter and then understand better. Maybe we can discuss about this chapter a bit longer on the third eye vision, all that. I'm a bit doubt of the third eye vision. That. Okay, so with that, I'm end this thing for today. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, Venima. We will definitely discuss this after the session because we have another 8 minutes only. So let us have Padma finish this and then we'll have the discussion.
Yeah.
Over to you, Padmaji.
Okay, thank you, Thila. Okay, I'm going to cover this 3 chapters. I mean, the 3 subtopics. These 3 subtopics for me, it's very, very comical. For me, it was like watching a comedy movie. So I'm not going to actually tell you the story, but I'm trying to comprise it and give a like summary. Okay, earlier Master Rajesh and Master Krishnaveni told us, right, how Swami Rama was in craze of mantra collection. You know, he was like everywhere collecting mantra, give me mantra, give me mantra. And now he goes on tantra experiencing spree, and wherever he goes he want to find magics, you know. So for him it's like his guru is because his guru is teaching him way of enlightenment path, but as a young boy, for him, he want to see and experience this magical, you know, this tantric, the black magic things, you know, illusions. He's very much into the illusions. So what Swami Rama did, he had this brother disciple from Medanipur, Bengal. So this brother disciple, he ran away from his marriage because everybody, you know, people don't like the marriage, they elope with their lovers, but this boy, he eloped with himself the night of the marriage. And then after 6 years of looking for master, finally in Himalaya, Srinagar, yeah, he found his Swami Rama's guru and become the disciple. So while they are talking and everything, so the brother disciple tell him, I ran away from the marriage. So Swami Rama, like a hero, is like, never mind, one day if I go to Medanipur, I will inform your family that you are no more, you are a Swami and you are a renunciator, like that. So, and Swami Rama did went to the village. Swami Rama, young boy, he loves to roam around places, like how he got hit in one temple and everywhere. He never learns. He just want to experience. So he just went to this Medanipur and he went and looked for the bride. And she's still waiting for the Swami, the runaway boy, hoping that he'll come back and complete the Sat Pere, the circle of the wedding and complete the wedding. So Swami Rama went and tell her, don't wait for him, you better get married to somebody else. And he nicely got scolded from her. It's like, you people are not worshipper of God, you people are worshipper of devil, and got her cursed. So when he came back to the hut, and he just want like these places, this village, they practice this tantra thing. So they pray to Kalima. So they practice this tantra. What this Swami Rama did, out of experiment, he got his brother disciple's cousin to bring him to look to see a Muslim like a priest or something like that, Maulavi. So asked the Maulavi to, show me some magic. So the Maulavi also, okay, yeah, I will show you some magic. Brought him to one place and tie to banana tree some thread, and that thread, the other end tied to the chicken. And he read some mantra and throw the black IP, and then the koli, the chicken died. So then he want to test if the chicken is still actually alive or it's dead. So he went and submerged it in water for 5 minutes to see if it come out live. Then when he confirmed that the chicken is dead, what he did is he's like, okay, the chicken is gone. So now the Maulavi said, what do you do now? Take this thread, tie it yourself. I'll show you something different. So he just sprinted away from that place. He's like so scared of his life. If this can happen to the chicken, imagine what will happen to me. Then from there he went to a magistrate house, I think. So from there he said, this is what I experienced. People say, yeah, it happens. They are people who practice this kind of thing. Then he went to some other sages. They also confirm, yeah, there is this kind of black magic practices. Finally he went to the master laughed at him. He's like, yeah, you have to experience all sort of things, but don't practice yourself. Yes, this kind of things people are practice. There are some people with this kind of capabilities, this magics and tantra and black magic, but it actually never end in good. So that's what the master advised him. So the next is, you have committed many sins. Again, in Swami Rama, still once not learned, right? Once they say, what? Once bitten, twice shy. Swami Rama never learned. Again, he went to for another Haji. And there he asked because, in one place, one people can give you, do like this, empty hand, got vibhuti, then they become big Swami. So these people performing a lot of tricks, magics and illusions. So the people definitely will start to worship them. So in another place, they got this one Haji, and Swami Rama is like, can you like, he went to a lot of people, like some people push this big needle in the hand, and some people want to cut a lot of things. For him, it's like it's something like finding a child is finding a toy. For him, it's very interesting. He just want to look for magic. So finally he came to this Haji. So the Haji said, okay, you tell me the most expensive restaurant, one Savoy hotel in London. He said, okay, I'll get the food from there. You give me 100 ringgit, 100 rupees. So Swami Rama himself is living on a picture, and he's giving the 100 ringgit to the other Haji. And then when he get the money, the Haji really gave him the food from the hotel. And again he asked for Germany food. And again he paid 80 ringgit. He got 80 rupees. He got food. So it's like, for Swami Rama, he's like, this Haji is much more better than my own guru. My guru is just sitting and meditating and just giving preachers. But look at this man. He can materialize things out of air. And then when he was keep on doing this, so many things he will be asking. Watch, he gave us watch from Switzerland, or Swiss watch, all he got. And finally, he tell this thing. Of course, you want to brag to your friends, right? Like how Swami Rama, brags, he got the mantras. He bragged to a salesman that I know one Haji. He has Haji. He has superpower. He can just get things from out of nowhere. And the man happened to work in a sewing machine shop. The man said, ask him to get singer machine from my shop. And that Haji man also managed to do that. And then after that only they start to think, they took the machine from the shop. What if I go and return it? If I get enough, what if they find that the machine is no more there? So they want to keep it back. When he want to keep it back, the Haji couldn't do it. So this man is stuck with the machine, the sewing machine. So the lesson is in this is what the guru is actually very, very upset with Swami Rama, because whatever the Haji is got from nowhere, it's actually from somewhere. So the Haji is managed with some of his power. He managed to teleport to the place, or with some tantra, he managed to take things that actually in one place. So without paying, without the person knowing, he's stealing. and he giving it to our Swami Rama. So in a way, our Swami Rama also. So the guru is very upset. You actually the gurus, the fellow disciple, the brother disciple came and gave him a slap. You know what you did? You're stealing from many places. So this is like what they say is, yes, we can have this kind of they call siddhis, when some people born with it, some people can actually acquire it by time with meditation or some practices, but very rarely they use it for good. And this kind of siddhis are not actually the actual enlightenment, or the actual the ultimate purpose. It is just a temptations in the way of our enlightenment path. So when we get some power, I think what might have happened to so many Dongi Babas, this is Polisami. Sorry, I'm not particularly talking about anyone, but they might acquire this siddhis, and then they feel like they're superhuman, they're super power. So with that, they got sidetracked, and they will have other people, they are disciples also. So they said this kind of things is not it's not the true purpose. It will never do good. Yes, you will get this siddhis, but this siddhis nothing but temptation. It will never give you any benefit. So this is this chapter. And then the last one is even more funny. He still never give up. Again he went for another Swami, and this Swami happened to be in Himalaya itself, and this Swami can spit fire out from his mouth, like how they that kind of fire. So this Swami also was doing, and he want to actually check, he and his friend, if he has something in his mouth, phosphorus or something, he's making it up or what. And they found out, no, actually this Swami can really spit fire out from his mouth, without anything. So again, Swami Rama is so excited. Now I find another Swami who can just, so you don't need to matchbox, nothing. You just spit the fire out from your mouth, the fire comes. And again he will never learn. Go back to his guru and say, you know what? I find a better guru now. He can do better things than what you did. He can, from his mouth, you can get fire. And then the his own guru, yes sir, okay, come bring me, I want to see the guru also. So they went, and then when they go there, that Swami fire spitting Swami happened to be the disciple of his own guru. Then he fell on the feet. Oh, you are there, you ran away from the monastery and you happen to be here. Finally I found you. And then they are like, yes Swami, okay, so what you have learned, what you have managed to, what skill you got? I can spit fire. Oh yeah, how many years you did sadhana for this? 20 years I did sadhana for this. Then the Swami start to laugh. Ade muttal. You only need a matchbox to light, to get a fire. And for this you have to waste your 20 years just to get the fire out from your mouth. And this is actually, when what I find in this, the moral of the story, in our journey, the meditation, we could get certain skills, but do not use it for something really wasteful, because his 20 years of his sabha, the meditation energy wasted for just to spit fire out. So it's not going to help anyone. So the lesson of the story, moral of the story is, when we are in the path, make sure we need to know what we want. All this kind of magic, this illusion, this siddhis, this is not going to help anyone. Enlightenment path is totally different from all this. Yes, we have to go through this to reach there. Some people, I remember Master Pradeep Vijay once, he said, where he has experienced the astral masters coming and communicating with him, and then the light beings and everybody come, and he sometimes he can know what is going to happen. And then it was just one point of time. Yes, he got carried away and he managed to come back to himself. And he realized that this all, it's nothing but temptation and illusion. So for him now, he's like, if he wants, he don't want any of those things. So this is the chapter that I covered. I'm done.
Thank you, Pathmaji. Thank you, everyone. Just stop recording first, yeah?